Welcome back to Part-Time Pastures. It has been quite some time since I have recorded a video or shared a video. Things have been very busy in our personal lives and equally as busy on the farm, but sitting down to make the videos, especially with rural internet, is not the most fun thing to do with our time. So I have got to figure out a high-speed internet solution. I know YouTube land, you're going to tell me. We are still on the Starlink list, but have yet to hear any updates there. We use a Wi-Fi booster, so we have just on the outside of our house here, we have a Wi-Fi booster or a cell booster, which works incredibly well. It's the WeBoost system from Wilson Equipment. Works great for day-to-day activities, but when it comes to video upload speeds, it's awful. So I am making a little personal series of short daily intentions on my other channel, and those little 4-minute videos do okay, but we would love to bring you more farm content. We will continue to overcome these challenges so that we can inspire you the way all of you have inspired us in this homesteading journey, and let you know what happens along the way that we learn from, that we grow from, and share that with you. Today I am in the garden, and it's been about 5 weeks since I shared the initial garden video. I planted early, so March 1st, I took a gamble. Last average frost in Texas is March 14th, but everything in the 10-day forecast showed 70, 80 degree temperatures. There was not a single frosty, frigid day in sight until I planted, of course. So when March 18th rolled around, we did have frosty temperatures, overnight freezing, and I covered everything, and most of it did okay. So I have to say, everything that's green behind me there, it all survived the frost with pillowcases, sheets, towels on top of it. So I covered it, it did okay, and everything is thriving. So let me show you around. The first thing I planted, and the reason I actually started the garden, were these strawberry plants that the Hamilton Farmers Market had available. I was so excited to try strawberries. I've been wanting to do berries for years and have not been here to tend to them like I'd like. There's one little bloom you can see, but overall I'd say they're starting pretty slowly. We did amend this soil. We put some manure throughout all of this. We tilled it up. It is still drying out super fast, so I probably need to put a little bit more mulch around it. And this little plant has a new bloom on it, but for the most part I had a few blooms when I bought them, and they've been stunted ever since. They do have a lot of new growth coming in, so I'm not worried about the plants themselves growing. Got some new leaves there, so they seem to want to do okay despite this terrible soil. But they definitely dry out, so I'm going to have to remulch and try to get these growing a little bit faster. I also see, an ant on there, so I've got to check for critters, but I think for the most part, the roller coaster temperatures have been stunting what's happening with the strawberries so far. The spinach has been a pretty cool experiment because I did both in-ground spinach, which is a little hard to see through all the weeds, but I did some in the ground, and I did some here in the raised bed. You can definitely see that the raised bed is working much better, of course, because it was good soil to begin with, and it has better drainage in this raised bed than it does in the ground. Our soil in the ground needs a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus, so while I've added manure and fertilized with a nitrogen fertilizer, it still struggles to stay moist and to not get compacted. So the compacted dry soil doesn't do in-ground veggies any favors. I did harvest some spinach today for a salad, and I served my retreat guests last weekend with a spinach and kale salad from the garden, so that was really exciting to see that start to come to life even at just 5 weeks or so. It's been, I guess, like 40 days, and we have tons of leaves on the spinach and the kale. So I am harvesting to allow the new growth to come in and keep replenishing the spinach and kale, the leafy greens. So those are always a fun thing to grow because they just keep giving you fresh vegetables. Here's the tiny little kale bed, and it might look funny because I have this random field fence on top of it, but it's to keep the cats out. So the cats were coming in and digging everything up when I first planted everything. They did quite a number on the carrots over there in the distance. They have learned since to stay out. The water hose does wonders when they decide to creep into the area. They get a little bit of a squirt, so they've stopped coming in here. I also found a little worm, and I'm definitely dealing with something that is chewing up the veggies, so I'm trying to harvest these quicker than they can be eaten. I only do organic practices, so sometimes I spray neem oil. For really thick leafy vegetables like this, I find that a little harder, but if anybody has any tips on keeping those guys out, I tried eggshells. Probably need to put a new, oh, that's interesting, put a new batch of dry eggshells. These have probably dried up, so pulled a little worm off there today and come out here to inspect the garden as often as I can. Finally, over here we have carrots, which are recently watered. That's why they're laying over a little bit, but these have been quite interesting. The cats got into that end and all of them got disrupted, so I don't know if they're going to grow into anything resembling a carrot. The rest of them, I would say, are still a little challenged. If you look here, this guy is kind of popping up, so I don't know. I struggle with carrots. It got too hot too soon last year, so I wanted to start them early. If they do anything this year, this little bed was fully planted and they didn't all sprout. Now, whether or not that was because the cats dug them up, I don't know, but I've got a few that are a different variety that are growing in here, so we'll see how those work out. And here comes Farmer Hughes on the tractor. He's been doing some fence repair today. It is a beautiful day, and so we're both outside and enjoying the spring. Speaking of things that do grow well in our soil, this is a squash that is popping up. I threw all of the spaghetti squash guts out in this area last year because I wanted to see, well, first of all, if they would grow. It was all the seeds and guts that came out of the inside when I prepped the squash. So I put it all out here and I've seen about 3 of them pop up so far. This one starting right near what was going to be a little compost bin, but some animal dug it up. So interestingly, I planted this asparagus back on March 1st too, and it is just now popping up. I didn't think it was going to make it. This soil is not the best, and I'm not overly optimistic, but here it is 4 or 5 weeks later and finally starting to make an appearance. Asparagus is like that. I know it's not there one day and there the next, so I'm hoping that this really grows. I put it in this far corner of the garden because it grows for as long as 20 years. This will be a corner that I don't have to worry about using and can continue to amend with chicken manure, cow manure, try to get the soil a little bit better so that it thrives in the years to come. I put this little gate up to plant. Originally it was for a raspberry vine, but the raspberry froze in the freeze last year. So I planted sugar snap peas this year. I am not optimistic. I'm kind of having the same luck that I am with the spinach over there in the ground, in that they should be much further along than they are by now, and they're still just growing very slowly. So I will continue to try and prop them up. I've got about 4 plants here along this trellis, this makeshift trellis, and I'm hoping that they put off some peas, but I'm worried it's going to get too hot too quickly. So I may end up just going on the other side of this and planting some beans, some like pole beans that I can put and string up the trellis and see how those do, because they will like the hot weather. Also, I don't have a rabbit fence up in this one. I did use this repel all, which seems to be working. So repels all. I put this around for the cats, which of course didn't irritate the cats, but nothing else seems to be coming around. And we have rabbits, skunks, raccoons, other things that we would have to deal with. So I've been really pleased with the performance of that and excited that it seems to be working. I fertilized with this organic plant tone, and I think that's what's helping my little strawberries bloom. And then I thought I had the leftover, oh yes, here is the type of onion. Sweet Pentium onion is what I planted, so we'll see how those go too. I have a few left should I want to make another row of them, but this is kind of my junk space since I don't have a gardening shed over here. Well, hi, little trespasser. Have you learned not to mess with the vegetables? Are you gonna sit there and meow at me like I'm so cute I couldn't possibly destroy anything? Oh yes, that's what you're saying, huh? Not me. I don't dig up carrots. So that is the garden tour. Be sure to subscribe to Part-Time Pastures, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a post, and you can get all of the updates on the garden throughout the season. The videos are a little few and far between right now, but we'll keep you informed on the most exciting news happening around here, and we'd love to have you come visit. We have Hipcamp and Airbnb rentals, and so you can come see what our farm life is all about here in Central Texas. You can visit the cats. They would love to see you too, so please comment with any questions, and we look forward to seeing you next time.